Hey friends. I'm heading into our next preview here shortly, and I sort of took a morning to decompress after last night and after the process that that led us to last night, and so I'm always in this interesting place when I get to a kind of a pivotal moment in a show. Usually it's launch, oftentimes it's launch, opening kind of time. Sometimes it's later, but it's very frequently it's getting the thing born into the world that is this incredible energy burst. And so I'm in that state, and I'm noticing that as I, come home late from a run and then go to sleep, like this, what my mind is doing, what my awareness is doing, what vibration I'm at, and what velocity I am moving at. And so today I deliberately took some time to come back into my body and remember that I have a body, and just slow down and get some rest, just kind of come back to basics. I found myself reflecting, just all of a sudden connecting with my family and Annalise and Katie, and just bringing that whole world online in my immediate awareness before kind of catapulting back into the world of the show and the momentum that is behind that right now. And one thing that really struck me today, it showed up as I was, I think it was after I had finished my meditation, so it was just kind of as I was puttering around the house doing whatever I was doing. I had this sense come through. I've spoken so much about creativity as a healing process, and my intention to employ myself in service of healing as I engage in this process. And I got this beautiful message this morning from a friend and student who said that she's been watching this post and has been having some similar, some incredibly analogous insights and kind of revelations come through in a completely different field, but that she summed it up in this beautiful takeaway, which was basically doing the spiritual work is always enough. And that really I just found that a really beautiful encapsulation of what my experience is as well. If I keep my intention truly on that, on elevating consciousness, everything else kind of gets taken care of. Again, it never means that there's not problems to solve, or that there aren't even maybe really urgent things to attend to. It just means that those things don't hijack our identity and our full awareness. They remain partial and compartmentalized in a way. They don't start breaking the bounds of their compartments and start taking over our lives with their urgency and immediacy and whatever. And that's partly that was just a beautiful thing to wake up to this morning, and to kind of open. I took a nice slow roll at my day today, getting going and just kind of opening up. And we're going up in to do another run tonight, and then a long rehearsal tomorrow and another run tomorrow night. So it's not stopping, but it just gives me a chance to breathe here. But the other thing that really came through that I found really powerful, and that I found myself really touched by as I began to relax, and as I began to briefly take a breath before continuing, is that there's something that happens when an audience comes and sees your show. And I imagine that there are analogs to this in other art forms as well. You know, anytime we're adding external consciousness, external awareness into the scenario, we get this gift of illuminating the thing. And what that also creates, as you know, coming back to my intention to engage in this process as a spiritual practice and as a healing practice, what it also creates, this adding of an audience, this new like infusion of consciousness, it creates a chance to heal things that were formerly invisible. Because there are things we can see in front of our face about a show or a piece of music or whatever. There are things we can see, and there are things where we can say, okay, this is what we need to do here. This is how we need to make it better. This is how it needs to be fixed, right? And there's stuff we can see. But then there's all this stuff that we can't see. And there's all this stuff that maybe also is affirmed in a way that we see it anew. We see it in a completely different light when we add this element of being visible to the external, to people outside of ourselves, basically. An audience has this interesting relationship, because of course all consciousness is interior. All consciousness is I. It's from the point of view of I. But we also perceive consciousness as being out, you know, localized in other people. So we have you. And I've just been sort of touched today by the sense that, you know, one of the reasons why I find creative spirituality so compelling, and why that has just always been my natural approach to the creative practice, is that one of the things I've learned is that we take the risk as creators. When we're doing something really original, we take the risk of revealing our true subconscious to an audience. And that can be a scary thing. It almost always involves allowing things to bubble up into awareness because they're being seen, that we formerly were not aware of, and there can be some discomfort there. There can, you know, why aren't we seeing them? Well, there's usually a reason. There's usually a reason why we either keep that stuff out of sight, or we just kind of don't go there, you know. So, and seeing that happen to this show is really interesting, because it's the next step forward in the development, and the next step forward in the healing of the individuals involved. Because when that stuff gets seen, when that subconscious, unconscious, whatever it is, as we start to like allow light into the room through all those eyes, a new door opens, and now we get to reckon with that. Now we get to digest that. We get to ultimately heal that. Ultimately feel what that's about. What's going on in us that produced this. And I find that, again, it can be uncomfortable, and it can be intense. It can be really intense, because depending on how attached we are or afraid we are of whatever's coming up, it can be the experience of having that reveal. It's kind of like pulling a Band-Aid off. When you add an audience into your show, you are not the only one analyzing it anymore. Now you have a whole other layer of witnessing happening, and so we get to start to see our own subconscious writ large in a room full of people watching. And that is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, even if it's painful, even if it's hard, even if there are things that we initially feel like they're not flattering reflections. What a gift! What a gift! And this is again where I kind of feel like if all of us, if we enter into that process with healing in mind, then we're golden. Then we're winning. Then it's a win-win-win-win-win for every possible contingency involved, constituency involved, because we're all there to grow, we're all there to expand, we're all there to receive a reflection and digest that reflection and just feel what we feel. And it's just amazing to watch that happen, because it really truly is like peeling back walls, and all of a sudden a whole lot more light can come into the room. And I'm feeling a real gratitude for that today. I'm just feeling really amazingly grateful. And I'm glad I took a breath today to think about all that and not kind of plowing, because of course, when there's stuff to fix, all you want to do is fix it. All you want to do is get down to business and fix it. But that moment of not fixing it, that moment of stepping back and receiving, wait, there's a larger picture here that is being offered. We're being offered a reflection. Can we take that in before we go and say, because it's funny, if it's spiritual work or if it's personal development work, then it's like, I want to work on this in myself. I want to do X. If it's a creative project, I want to fix this. I want to make that right. I want to make this work. Right? The technique. That's our creative craft. But that moment before we go to the craft of being grateful for the reflection and of accepting what's there, that's the other thing. If we can accept our own subconscious, like what we're seeing, if we can accept what we are seeing in our own subconscious as a result of the creative process and the witnessing that happens, fixing the product is the easiest thing of all. That becomes almost second nature, because there's clarity. We don't have that blinder on, that layer of subconscious avoidance or whatever it is that lets us not see the thing. Take that away, you fix the scene or the song or the whatever in a half a day. That becomes just, okay, do the work. But so it really is that moment before the work. It's the spiritual work. doing the spiritual work is always enough. It's literally the moral of the story. It's just, yeah, that showed up right on time today. So, thanks, folks. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you. I'll report on tonight's proceedings when I have updated information. Thank you very much. Love you. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow.